The Wii balance board, something that everyone knows because of one moment in Nintendo history.
My body is ready.
Or you just know it because your mom saw Wii Fit on TV and bought it so she could lose some weight, but quickly shelved it again after a couple of days. Regardless of why, everyone just kinda had it somehow. It just magically appeared in your household and nobody really knew why. The use of it is pretty damn obvious, to lose some weight with it. But what about video games that use the balance board where the main point isn't losing weight or mostly doing sports? I wanted to title the video balance board games that are not fitness or sports games, but that would have been a bit too long and I got some titles too that could be considered sports games. But fans of Mario and Sonic will sadly not get what they maybe wanted to see. Sorry about that. One thing that's so weird to me though is that Wii Sports Resort does not use it. It could have been the perfect game for it, but nope, Nintendo was just nah. Wii Music though, no, that's the game that really needed to use it. And no, it won't be in this video too. Playing that game once upon a time made me feel emotions that shouldn't be possible, and I never want to see it again in my whole life. So let's see what the balance board can offer in games that are not really well designed for its intended use. Tetris Party Deluxe. There's 3 modes that you can use the balance board for. A mode where you gotta clear 150 lines as fast as you can, one where you gotta clean the most lines in 3 minutes, and you can battle against the CPU and only the CPU. You can have one player play with the balance board and another one fights against him with the Wii mode, not possible for whatever reason. Good for people without friends like me, since artificial intelligence is all I need. They keep me company and would never hate me. But it also made me think, is it possible to connect more than one balance board to Wii? What if you could play this versus mode against another player with the balance board? Balance board versus balance board. It's probably not possible to connect 2 to the same Wii, but someone out there should try it out for science. I don't want to buy a used balance board and get foot cancer. Normally in Tetris you get 10 rows to push your blocks into, but here you only got half of it, which in one way should make it easier but also harder when you play it with the advanced blocks, which you can activate in the settings. Without them on, your longest, thickest and hardest block is 3 straight blocks instead of the usual 4, and you also can get those zigzag blocks, even with the advanced ones turned on. Makes sense to make the playground smaller since they don't want you to travel too much from side to side, or else you may fall over and hit your head and die, I guess, but it's also fairly sensitive. Sometimes you tilt just a bit too much and you go one line too far while you're already getting on your tippity toes to make it go faster and frick it up. On a smaller board like this, those fuck ups hurt more than one on the big normal Tetris boards since you got less space, but after a bit you get used to it and it works pretty well actually. You will also get a fairly decent workout out of it since you got a squat to rotate the blocks and you will have to rotate them a lot. And don't be a pussy, it's enough to only slightly squat and that's what they want you to do since doing a full normal squat for each rotation would make your legs hurt for at least 2 days after you're not used to them, but for someone who does 1,000 squats every day, it's as simple as baking a pie. I'm lying, I also just lightly squatted, and I only do 100 squats every day. I kinda wish they would have let you try to play normal Tetris with the balance board too though. Maybe they thought nobody is ready for that though. Playing this mode reminded me of playing with Lego Duplo stones. Those huge Legos that you had as a baby because otherwise you would have eaten the normal sized Lego stones since babies are fucking stupid like that. I bet there's at least one baby out there though who was able to eat even Duplo stones. It works, I guess, but if I want to play Tetris, I would rather just play the real Tetris. If you already thought what is the point of playing Tetris with the balance board, then you're not ready for the next game. Scrabble. Yes, the Scrabble game for the Wii has a balance board mode, which is sadly just a little mini game where you either gotta step to the left or to the right to pick the right letter. That's all. Also, playing Scrabble in English is absolute terror for a non-native English speaking person, and I say this as someone who is fairly good at English. But there have been so many words I never even heard of before in this little mode, like what the heck is an albumen? I had to Google what it is, and it's just the white from the egg instead of the yellow from the egg. Germans will understand that little joke. Hopefully. So yeah, that's kinda all. But look at the sick animation of the Scrabble mascot, I guess. He's walking. So cutesy. He's cute. He's doing jumping jacks now. And wow, look at how cool he looks when he crosses his arms. What a badass. I wish I could be as cool as him. Punch Out. Once upon a time, I had a little boxing phase after I started watching Hajime no Ippo and absolutely loved it. Even if you don't have anything to do with boxing or don't even like sports, I would recommend it. One of the best anime ever. I even watched all 6 Rocky movies, which are all pretty great except for the 5th one. That one has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Despite that, I never played the Punch-Out game for the Wii, but now I finally played it because of the balance board integration. Without it, I probably still would have taken some time to finally play it. You know how it is. You want to play a game, but then today isn't the right day, and the next day, you're not in the mood either, and it continues for years. You punch with the nunchuck and Wiimote, only with the Wiimote if you want to, I guess, but I have no idea why you would pick that, and you do your defensive moves like dodging to the left or right, with your body tilting to the left or right, also squat a bit to duck, and it just works perfectly, but also makes the game harder at first. Dodging with a simple button press is way faster than using your body because that's what you're used to, but if you get used to using your body, it just feels right. You will feel like an actual boxer throwing jabs left and right and ducking to avoid some big hard punches so you can counter them. I played a tiny bit without the balance board after and thought, damn, I really want to play it with the balance board instead again. For me, this is the ultimate way and most perfect way even to play the game now. It's kinda crazy how sweaty it gets you to just swing your arms around like that. Normally when I do my normal daily workout or do stuff on my stationary bike while watching anime or playing games, I never get sweaty anymore. But just after a couple of fights, I felt the sweat coming out of every single pore of my body. Didn't help that I wore a light jacket because winter's coming. Haha, epic Game of Thrones reference, even though I never even watched that show. Please knock me out. I took the light jacket off though after a while. Thanks for asking. Dance Dance Revolution Hottest Party 3. Everyone knows DDR, right? Either those big machines at an arcade, which we sadly don't have here in Germany really, or at home with a dancing mat, which were pretty popular during the PlayStation 2 era of video games. Even Mario got his own DDR game, which I would love to play one day. But the Wii got a bunch of them too, and some of them even use the balance board. Since there are a bunch of these, I thought I'm gonna pick the one with the coolest songs, and I spotted Butterfly on the Japanese version of the game called Music Fit instead. And it's perfect with the Weeps, because it has the first Gurren Lagann opening or Bluebird. Please don't copyright strike me. Please don't copyright strike me. Please don't copyright strike me. I don't make any money with this. Please don't strike the video. Don't take it down. Don't make it only available in 20% of the countries. Instead of putting your small dedicated feet onto a dancing mat, you just place them onto the balance board and you don't even have to move your feet on it. You just have to tilt your hips to the left or the right and bend over or back or to the front depending on where you're gonna move to, which is pretty easy, but there's also markers where you have to punch with your Wiimote or nunchuck. And this made me realize how much I suck at feet and hand coordination and got massively overwhelmed most of the time on the normal difficulty. On easy it was doable. Tilting my body to the left but having to punch with my right hand at the same time made me feel like I'm the dumbest person alive because my brain just couldn't do it right most of the time. But this was my first time playing it, and maybe if I played more I could have mastered it. I kinda had to turn it off fairly quickly though, because I ate something before playing it, and in normal DDR sometimes you gotta go into two directions at once, but you can't tilt your body into two directions at once since that's not how the human body works, I guess. So how does it work here? By rotating your hips in a clockwise rotation or counterclockwise rotation, and doing that with something in your tummy that's still getting digested and throws it all around instead of you made me feel a bit sick because it felt more like my whole guts are getting rearranged. There's not that much to say about it anyways, except that I like to pick June as my character because I love the gothic Lolita style, but who doesn't? I even have some gothic Lolita outfits myself. Playing real DDR in those outfits sounds like a horror though. But I also got the English version of it just so I could make this a little joke here. Enjoy.
Let's go!
Skated. The skate games for the PlayStation 3 are some of my favorite skate games ever, but what about the skate game for the Wii? I have to be honest, I think I'm too dumb for the balance board integration in this game, or at least I would have to spend way more time with it. Kinda like in the original skate games. In Tony Hawk's, you always can do sick combos without much trouble right from the start, but playing these skate games, you really first have to get a feel of them and learn everything about them before you really feel, wow, I can do some sick combos. And here with the balance board, it goes even deeper than that. Look at this. This is just one set of multiple ones. You got to learn the zones of the balance board to do different tricks, and depending on where you press onto. It works, but god, you really have to get the hang of it before it clicks, and the tutorial makes you do like every single trick. So I just quit it and went into the free play mode to just skate around a bit to get a feel of it without the game telling me what to do, and it was really fun. Also, I couldn't play it for that long anyways, since the game makes you use the balance board sideways and my neck hated it. So if you stand on it like that, it doesn't directly face the TV, so you bend your neck towards the TV, and after like 10 minutes I could feel my neck telling me, hey, please, stop it. Instead of having an open world, you have a bunch of big areas without any NPCs. There is no one around except for yourself. It felt like skating in an empty Gary's Mod map. Woohoo, spooky liminal spaces, I've said the buzzword, skibbity, Merry Christmas. Sorry about that one. You just skate around and do cool tricks. That's all really. Which is the point of skating. You skate to skate, not to ride a bike. I will come back to this game one day and actually learn everything it has to offer, because I think the developers deserve that. This is a game where I really feel the people behind it fought really hard how they could give people with the balance board an actual good experience without just putting in the most simple integration possible and calling it a day. I think that deserves respect. Skate Heroes. In comparison to Skated, Skate Heroes just did not work at all really. It has two different control schemes with the balance board, and with one of them I was only able to steer to the left, and the other control scheme just didn't work at all. Amazing. Aladin R. I actually got goosebumps in a cold sweat after turning this game on because it showed the company's logo and it was made by Neko Entertainment. Neko is the Japanese word for cat, haha I'm a weeb, and the logo is also cute, so what can go wrong? But you know what other racing games they have made? The Crazy Frog Racers, and I had the misfortune of playing them once upon a time, and I would recommend you to never do the same mistake. But maybe this game is better? Not really. Once a shovelware company, always a shovelware company, most of the time. Also, I don't like the English pronunciation of Aladin, so I'm using the German one. It's a racer where you race on flying carpets, who could have guessed? Pick your favorite character out of a huge amount of them. 5. And how many racers are there in a race in this game? 5. You know what they say, a good horse only runs as far as it needs to, so why create more racers when a race only has 5 of them anyways? The game allows you to use 3 different styles of standing on your balance board though. The uncomfy skateboarding way of having it rotated 90 degrees, your neck will start to hurt again after a little bit like in Skated, the normal way, and you can actually sit on it with your ass. Which I tried for my first race, and I'm gonna be honest here, that shit is even more uncomfy than the breaking your neck way. Mostly because I got a pretty big ass for a guy, so it's hard to sit on such a little surface with it in this position. I'm also only 5'2" and 100 pounds, so I shouldn't even be too tall or too big for it, but I guess it's mostly intended for kids. The balance board is also pretty uncomfortable to sit on in general, but maybe if you put a carpet onto it, you can really get the unique feeling of riding on one. I had to change to a normal standing position right after. And yeah, it's a pretty bad arcade racer. The tracks are really tight and you go pretty fast, so it's hard to not get bonked to the left and to the right most of the time when you're controlling it with the balance board. Maybe it just always plays so horribly though, because I didn't even try playing it without the balance board, because why should I waste my time? I have better things to do, like actually I don't have anything better to do. The most annoying thing was that for some reason the balance board just always turned itself off after the race. Like, it just turned itself off, so I had to turn it on again and again. But I can't blame it. I wanted to off myself too after this game. Ikini no Yoru, or also called Night of the Sacrifice in English because it only released in Japan, but there's an English translation page out there made by Brand Newman, who does a lot of translation for Japanese Wii games. It's a horror game that uses the balance board, so if you step on it, you walk, and that's kinda all you do with it. The faster you step, the faster you run in the game, and you gotta run a lot, because, well, that's how horror games work. You run away from spooky ghosts, or evil ghosts and other spooky stuff. It actually got tiring after a bit, but probably only because I had to use the balance board so often in the last few days. Standing on it is really not that comfy. I normally love standing around, but the balance board tried its hardest to murder my small, delicate feet. The story couldn't be any more cliché. You and your friends wanted to have a cool party at this really huge house which belonged to a friend's grandpa, and then shit just goes into the wrong direction. One cool thing that you can do is giving the characters different names, so you can name them after you and your friends, which also made me think the game is a bit more dynamic in a way. Getting to name them made me think I have their fate in my own hands, so I should try really hard to keep them alive and see which friend survives and which one doesn't. But sadly it's just really linear, and you don't get to make any choices who gets to live and who dies. I would never die in a horror story, because I just don't leave my house, and I also don't invite anyone over, so no horror can come into my own 4 walls. The only horror you can then feel is the immense loneliness that keeps eating away at you till you're completely empty inside. You play through the cases which somewhat relate to the main story and pick up phones or other items that unlock stories tied to you and your friends to bring the story together and eventually learn more about what happened that special night. It probably is the game with the most interesting balance board integration in a way. Wanna make a marble game? Yep, put the balance board in there, makes sense. Wanna make some minigame collection? Yep, put some balance board minigames in there, makes total sense. Wanna do a sports or fitness game? Yep, balance board it is, the perfect fit. But this one here is a game that pretty much said, hey, we make a horror game with the balance board in mind first. Isn't that just kinda cool? There's some other horror games on the Wii that are basically just like this game, like Calling or Ju-on, which by the way has some of the worst control schemes. Even just thinking about it makes me not being able to talk anymore, that I ever had the displeasure of using in a video game, but this one just feels more special because of the integration of the balance board, even if the game itself isn't really all that special. Its biggest problem is that every time you touch a ghost you get instant death and have to restart the section, which takes away all of the tension, but that's a problem that many horror games have. The more you die, the less scary they become. I would recommend checking this out if you like horror games. It's, again, nothing special, but it can make you scared for a little bit, and it can maybe even... There's no really jump scares in here, but a little bit maybe, but not like screaming at you. Because screaming is kinda bad. I don't like to scream, but I do scream playing these games, because I'm a scaredy cat. Super Monkey Ball, Step and Vault. For many people, there have been no more Monkey Ball games after the first two, for a good reason. They sadly were never able to really get back to the quality of them after they basically revamped the whole aesthetic of the game and cutesified it. Even the recent remakes have been pretty bad in comparison to the original games. Bad remakes are the worst. But before I make myself even more sad talking about the state of the Monkey Ball series, let's talk about Step and Vault, a game most people don't even know exists. It's exactly what you would expect. You're a monkey instead of a ball, and you tilt the stage to make the balled up monkey wall around and try to get him into the goal, just like any other monkey ball game, with the exception of using a body to tilt it around this time, which works fine. It does what it needs to do. But since using a body is not just as precise as using a stick, they found a compromise by making these stages way thicker and more broad. I beat the whole first world without any problems and looked through a few levels in the later worlds, and it just continues through the whole game like that. I looked at a long play to see if there's any extra worlds, and there's one, but looking at it, it also didn't really make me think, wow, this looks hard. Come on, at least make that one really hard. It's fine to be a frustrating game sometimes. The original games had levels that were hard as nails that you repeatedly punch to finally be able to beat them, with your hands being full of holes after punching through a nail, and it made you happy that you did it. Difficulty is like one of the things about Monkey Ball games. I don't want to sound like a gatekeeper, but the later stages have to be kinda harder than the easy stages, but here it's like every stage is easy. You can also just play the game without the balance board, which makes you able to beat the game in your sleep. Do not do that. Do not play without the balance board. It's not really balanced around it. It's not a bad game, but it's the kind of game that just makes you think, whatever, which is almost worse than being a bad game almost. There's also mini games, but somehow I suck extremely hard at them. They are like the opposite of the main game. The CPUs just crush you, or maybe I'm just bad. Here in Beyblade you're gonna spin and kick the other players out, but regardless of how hard I tried to spin my body, I just couldn't build up any real power. In red light, green light, the CPU Mimi was just unbeatable and crushed everyone with 3 wins in a row, and in this flipper game, where you gotta tilt left or right to flip the flippers, it's just so fast and everyone targeted me. Really rude. Also, seeing Monkey Ball speedruns at Awesome Games Done Quick were always my favorite ones because of how skillful they look, and sadly there has never been a speedrun of this one at any of those events, but I am here to change it. I will pick this game up as my first ever speedrun game and get the world record, and show up at those events. Actually, I won't. Koro Renpa 2. You know what I hate? When publishers change the name of a game depending on the region, or even changing the name of the sequel to something completely different. In Europe, this one is called Marbles Balance Challenge, which rhymes, which is cool, but they actually released the first game under the name of Koro Renpa here, which is just dumb. Obviously Marbles is a better name to show people what the game is about, but it loses all of its flair. And Marble games don't sell that well anyways, I think, so why even bother trying to appeal to non-Marble people? Do the right thing, Konami, and re-release these games on the Switch, or Switch 2, or any other console, please. But begging Konami to do the right thing is kinda pointless, I guess. The Koro Renpa games are the absolute best Marble games you can basically get on any console, not just the Wii. They're full of charm, cuteness, fun, difficulty, everything you could ask for as a fan of Marble video games. All 5 of us. Ever played that Marble minigame in Twilight Princess in the Fisher Hole? Hole. Or recently that Marble minigame in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and you thought, wow, this is actually fun? Then get these 2 games, you will not regret it, but try to get the European version of the second game, because it has a 100 balance board, mode stages, instead of only 30 like the American one. Again, it's also pretty self-explanatory how to use the balance board here, right? You just tilt the stage with your body, yep. That's it, and it works perfectly. It's a gift from heaven. Everything about it. Look at my cute cat Marble, which is just so cute, and every time it bonks against the wall, it meows in a painful voice, which makes me not so happy actually, so I better try my hardest to not let it bonk. It has a great difficulty curve in the balance board mode, starting fairly easy and simple, but ramping up to kick your ass eventually. Way better than the Monkey Ball game. Academy of Champions Soccer, or how I like to call it, football. Even though I spend most of my time watching anime or playing video games, I also love watching football and I'm a big fan of Borussia Dortmund. And being a fan of that team is suffering sometimes. So I was thinking, wow, a football game that uses the balance board could be kind of fun if it's working correctly, but there's only a single minigame that uses the balance board and it's juggling the ball around. That's it. Lean into different positions to move the ball around and earn points. What a disappointment. Why did they even bother with the integration of the balance board? Imagine how cool it could be to be the goalkeeper with the balance board in a real football game, throwing yourself to the left and to the right and jumping but staying on your toes to catch balls and stuff like that. Also, it has Sam Fisher in it, the guy from Splinter Cell and the Rabbits, and Ezio from Assassin's Creed, and the GOAT himself, Pelé. Whip to one of the greatest ever. This game made me feel like Ubisoft was trying to create their own Inazuma 11, but totally failing at it, because even in its normal mode it wasn't really fun to play, and I quickly turned it off and started crying because it reminded me of how shitty the Pro Evolution Soccer games became after Pro Evolution Soccer 6, and we will never ever get another great football game again, unless you like that big football casino franchise. Wayman Raving Rabbit's TV Party. A while ago I played the first game in the series and to be honest it wasn't extremely bad. It was a decent minigame collection, same as this one. They don't really hate my humor because it's just haha, loud random noises, farts, burps, dumb looking little rabbits getting hurt and doing random stuff. But for kids they were probably the bomb back in the day. I can't deny though that the presentation in this game is pretty cute with the whole TV setting where you have to pick a minigame and get enough points to get the time slot on TV, because apparently the rabbits took over every TV station in the world and broadcast their shenanigans to everyone. I actually hate that word, I don't know why I used that. Another thing the game does well is that it shows you whenever you can use your balance board in a minigame when it's activated in the selection at the top left of it, so no picking random minigames and hoping it supports it. There's also a variety of different ways to use it. You got your normal stand on the balance board games, but also some where you sit on it in a normal way, unlike the stupid Aladin racer that made my butt hurt, or games where you got to sit on a normal chair and have your feet on the balance board as some kind of paddle. My two favorite games were Webzilla, where you are a big rabbit on a TV set and just destroy the town like Godzilla would do, aiming a fire with the balance board and destroying houses or tanks and helicopters. It's just dumb fun. Same with the tractor racing game where you actually tilt the Wii remote to drive it, but use the position with the chair and put the gas on the pedal with your right foot and use the left foot on to steer. Again, dumb fun. Just like the whole game, if you like minigame collections, the Raving Rabbits games are probably some of the best out there. Sometimes I feel like the Rabbit sale is the classical at the wrong time at the wrong place kind of fate. People hate them so much because they were the only thing Wayman related for a while, eventually becoming their own thing nowadays, while Wayman got neglected till Origins and Legends, and then shelved again. If Ubisoft just continued the normal Wayman games and the Rabbits at the same time, they would have never gotten this hate. Poor rabbits, I feel a bit bad for them, but, you know, they look stupid, so they deserve it. Recently, I even saw a picture of Wayman on Twitter with his new hot cow girlfriend in his new cartoon show or whatever, so good on him. I would rather have a hot cow girlfriend like that too than staring in video games. I'm not a fairy. Avatar, the game. Yep, there's an Avatar game for the Wii, and it's different from the one for the PlayStation 3 or 360, which were more like normal third-person shooters and had different campaigns, one for the Marines and one for the Na'vi people, those tall blue hot aliens. Here you can only play as the fuckable aliens, and I was surprised at how good the game actually looks. My shitty Chinese HDMI converter can't really show it, but it's pretty colorful and the environments are extremely lush. There's more grass in a single level here than in the entirety of Pokemon Violet and Scarlet combined, which sadly makes the FPS go down a lot, but that's not the point here, even though it kinda is, since I had to play 2 normal levels of the game to get to the flying stages that use the balance board in a pretty normal way. You control your Banshee bird with it. Wow, nothing fancy about it. Just tilt your body into the direction you want to and aim with the remote to shoot at mines and enemies. And I have to say, it was pretty fun and makes me wonder why not more games use the balance board like this. Imagine Sin and Punishment 2 with the balance board. It would go hard. Even the Railgun Resident Evil games could have used it to like duck or something. When you duck on the balance board to train your glutes with some nice squats, because everyone likes to have a nice butt. It surprised me how good this game actually felt to play. I went into it with zero expectation, and while it's obviously not a masterpiece, it feels like the developers actually cared about this one and didn't just poop out the typical shovelware license stuff that you would expect. It was also made by Ubisoft, who are also releasing the new Far Cry Avatar Edition soon, and this game will probably be better than that. But yeah, fuck Ubisoft, what a trash company. This against the high-ups, not the normal people working there. Dr. Fizz Whistle's Animal Rescue. Without even seeing any gameplay, you just know this is a shovelware game based on the name. So no good game could have a name like this, but actually I enjoyed my time with this one and I didn't even want it to stop anymore, largely because I just love breakout kind of games. Instead of shooting blocks, you gotta shoot animals with your balls though, because they get sucked into the ball to rescue them, but I feel a bit bad for them. Imagine you randomly get sucked into a ball and you just roll around and around. That can't be good for your stomach, and now imagine everyone in the ball also throwing up, which makes everything even worse. And the story is simple. The animals are hungry and scared for whatever reason, and now you gotta rescue them with the ball like this. Which makes no sense, they don't look scared at all, and if they're hungry, just feed them normally without having to catch them. So now all you gotta do is catch them in every level with some bonus stages here and there, and it's, like I said, fun. Standing on your balance board to shift your card to the left or right, and that's all you do with it. But you can also press the A button on your remote to blow some air against the ball and make it move into different ways, which is needed if there's only a few things left on the screen. If you ever played Breakout, you know the most annoying thing sometimes is trying to hit the last block, which is even more annoying here when you use a hacking balance board and try to hit some small dumb duck that's a few pixels on the screen and moves around even. But the blowing makes it way more convenient. I love to blow. If you're a Breakout lover and you want to experience a different kind of Breakout experience, then get yourself a Wii, a balance board and this. Or just don't, it's not worth that much money, but it's actually fun for a Breakout fan. Imagine Party Babies. Yep, it's the game that's supposedly better than Gotham, according to IGN. A game which I tried once upon a time, but sucked really hard at it. And one day I shall try it again, and maybe that time it will click. But what if Imagine Party Babies really is just a better game? I can tell you, it isn't. But comparing games that are so different to each other is dumb anyways. I gotta say this before anyone actually thinks that I take reviews seriously, because I don't. I always thought this game is like the Cooking Mama baby game, which came even with a whole baby to simulate actually having a baby. But this is just a minigame collection, and one thing it actually does better than other minigame collections is having all the minigames you can play with the balance board in its own category instead of always having to check if a minigame actually works with the balance board. Like in some of the other games, you always had to get into the minigame and then check if it worked with the balance board and back out if it didn't, and it was so annoying. For example, I wanted to also show off Playmobil Circus, a minigame collection with Playmobil, those toys that many people always compare to Lego, even though they're very different. I loved Lego and Playmobil as a kid though, both. I like both. I was that kid that had both. I wasn't even spoiled. None of the start minigames were usable with the balance board in that game, and I didn't want to unlock the others, so I dropped it. Also, I have to chill for Hype the Time Quest, an action-adventure game from Playmobil, and it's really good, not just because of nostalgic reasons. Making it run on PC nowadays is a bit hard, so I would recommend the PlayStation 2 version of it. Go play it, please, if you have nothing better to do. But yeah, it's minigames with babies, yay. Who even wants to play as a baby though? Babies can't play this game at all, or maybe I'm severely underestimating babies. A baby would be super overwhelmed by this game, at least I think so. Have you ever seen or heard a smart baby? Gaga goo goo? Yeah, sure, very intelligent. It's Squid Games, but with babies. Watch out, or else the tiger's gonna eat you. Oh no. Bouncy castles though, no, that's more my jam. I kinda miss playing on them. I'm very tempted to tell a story from my own childhood right now, and I think I will do that. It's short anyways. So at one of those indoor playground things, we had this super huge Titanic bouncy castle thing, and nowadays it revives me how no kid ever died while climbing it up. Look at this thing, and there was no safety around it. Falling from that shit probably would break your neck. Also, while googling for an image of it, I found an article that calls this Titanic bouncy castle sick, and I thought, yeah, oh yeah, as a parent I would also think that it's really dangerous and sick, I get them. But the article is about how people complain that it makes light of the actual Titanic accident, and it's in bad taste to all the people that died that day. Sometimes I really don't get people. Germany's Next Top Model, the funnest show that German TV has ever produced, with Heidi Klum. I don't know if she's in the game though, she probably is, but I didn't play enough of the story mode to find out. Make your own character and give it your own distinct style. Just look at mine, I call it the zebra style. I don't even know what sound zebras make, otherwise I would have made it. And then you get to talk to your new besties and just play a bunch of minigames to prepare for the show later and hopefully not fail. After 10 minutes of only fighting minigames that don't use the balance board, I already had enough of it and just went into the multiplayer mode and hoped I can find the one minigame that used the balance board in there. And I found it. Biking on a bike. Which makes zero sense. Why not make it a treadmill? Wouldn't that fit more than a bike, since you have to do movements like as if you're on a treadmill instead of being on a bike? And that's it. I had another game planned for the besties, Charm girls, club, pajama party, a game for a slumber party with your open fleece, but it just wouldn't want to work with the balance board. Every time I turned it on in the options top, yeah, it works. Now go play with your balance board, but then it just turned itself off every single time and no mini game was usable with it. Too bad. I'm sure I would have had a lot of fun with it and wouldn't have lost my remaining sanity that I already lost while playing all of these games. It's finally over. Obviously, these weren't all the games you could play with the balance board. There were like 2 French exclusive games, but hell would have to freeze over for me to play a game in that language, and some other games which were mostly just minigames, and minigames, or a bunch of bubble games. But you only need Corinpa if you love playing with balls. I feel a bit bad for the balance board. In most games they just put it in without much of a thought except for a few, but the potential was there to create a game that actually makes good use of it. Imagine an actual good football game in a first person perspective where you get to shoot the ball with your feet, do headers by going on your tippy toes, start running depending on how fast you step onto the balance board and so on, or a first person shooter aiming with the remote but walking and turning around with the balance board, dodging by ducking and all that. But obviously creating a game that requires the balance board like that is pretty risky from a business perspective, because let's be honest, how many people actually use it for non-fitness related games? Not a lot, I would assume, so why risk it and bother wanting to use it in an actual fun way? In the end, the sales are what counts to your higher ups. Since I don't want to end the video on such a depressing note, I'm gonna wish you a nice day. Enjoy your day or your sleepies if you go to bed soon, and thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, or just do whatever you want since it's up to you. Goodbye, good night, good morning, and all the stuff.